Hello, and here is another episode of how to set up Digital Diamond Baseball for Statis Pro Baseball. Last episode, we talked about setting the player pool. In this episode, I'm going to talk about how to generate the Statis Pro Baseball 4th edition cards as PDFs. This functionality is something that comes with Digital Diamond Baseball, and there is already a video by Digital Diamond Baseball on how to do this, but there's a reason I'm making this video, which you'll find out soon. So let's start with covering how to generate player cards. One of the things I love is that there is this feature at all. Let's go take a look at it. If we go to the library we made last time, NL 1979, and if you go to the team editor, you'll see all the different teams. And let's go look at Pittsburgh. You'll see that there are two links at the bottom. One is Statis Pro Batters PDF and Statis Pro Pitchers PDF. So these will generate PDFs of the Statis Pro Baseball 4th edition cards. What's great about that is the Digital Diamond Baseball authors, it's like they're acknowledging the tabletop, the physicality of it, and how wonderful that is to be able to hold cards. If you have a dice game, hold the dice, and they're enabling us to print out cards and use Digital Diamond as a companion to the board game, and they're giving us everything we need to play the board game for Statis Pro Baseball 4th edition. So I just love that. So let's generate both batters. I'm going to click on that, and I get a little window saying that success. The cards can be found in the Export Statis Pro Basic Cards folder. And let's do the pitchers, and that generates the same message. So something that's actually really important for Digital Diamond Baseball is knowing where it lives in your file structure and being able to access some of the files that come with it. Let's take a look at, in this case, I'm on Windows, so we'll look at the File Explorer. And Digital Diamond Baseball is part of Steam. And so if you look in the standard Steam location for where the apps are installed, or wherever you install your apps, you'll find Digital Diamond Baseball. In this case, I have version 13. So we'll go in there, and there's a subdirectory with the same name. So we go in there as well. And you can see here are a bunch of subdirectories, one of which the window told us to look in, which is Export. We look in Export, and there's a subdirectory called Statis Pro Basic Cards. We look in there, and you can see I actually have been generating cards for the season we're going to play. But as far as my example here is NL 1979, let's go in there, and you can see that 4 files have been generated. There's a default pitcher batters cards, there's the pitchers cards for Pittsburgh, the pitcher batter cards for Pittsburgh, and then the batters. So let's look at, why don't we look at batters? Let me bring that window up. There we go. So here are the cards that were generated, and we can scroll down and find, where is, oh, there's Matt Alexander. See, this is what I did to my friend our first season. Look at this card. Almost everything is a hit. All right, so let's take a look at Bill Madlock. He was the example from the last video. And as you can see, one of the great things about these Digital Diamond Stats Pro Baseball cards is they have the actual stats for the player at the bottom. And as you can see, here is the combined card. We generated these combined stats by using the stats from his games with San Francisco and his stats from his Pittsburgh games. And so here's the card for Bill Madlock, and it includes his defense. And then there are 3 columns One says combined, one says versus left-handed pitching, one says versus right-handed pitching. These two columns here, versus left-handed versus right-handed pitching, those are called splits. And it enables you to, when you're playing the game, have a realistic outcome as far as how the batter did versus each of those types of pitching. Combined means if you combine his stats, left-handed and right-handed versus left-handed and versus right-handed pitching, this is the card you come out with. So my friend and I, we decided to use combined. The reason is when you only have two teams, then it's super easy to build an incredibly powerful platooning team where you can put in a starting pitcher, and the starting pitcher, it's really common for them to do really well against right-handed batters, for instance, and poorly against left-handed batters. So you can just put in all your left-handed batters, and you end up with, after you play a bunch of games, you end up with starters whose stats are way worse than they actually were that season because of these splits, because of the platooning to take advantage of this dynamic. The great thing about splits is if you're replicating a full season or you have a league with a lot of teams, then I prefer them. But for our purposes, we're really better off using combined. And so we really ignore the versus left-handed and the versus right-handed. And that is why I'm making this video. Let me show you something. While I was hunting around in, let's go back up to the Digital Diamond directory. And this is something you want to look through, because if you're using the Statis Pro Baseball 4th edition cards or the SI rules for if you're using the SI version of the game, in here you can find, oops, wrong place. Here we go. You can find rules and charts for advanced Statis Pro Baseball. You can find rules and charts for 4th edition. This is, for instance, what my friend and I are going to be using in Statis Pro Baseball. And while I was perusing through here and looking at these different files, I found out that there's a directory called Statis Pro PDF Gen. So let's look in here. Inside Statis Pro PDF Gen, there are 4 files that are really important to us: battercard.txt, battershtmltemplate.html, pitchercard.txt, and pitchershtmltemplate.html. Now what are these? Let's load up the battercard.txt. Here it is. Now, you can see that it's actually HTML code in the .txt file. And here and you see the first section, it sets a color, which is a variable. It sets the team, a name, which is the player name, and then it has here positions. These are the positions the player plays. And then there are 3 charts, chart 1, 2, and 3. Each of these, it turns out, is a column, and you can see the fields: infield single, left, center right, double, triple, home run. So this first column are the combined results. The second column is versus, I believe, left-handed pitching, and the third column is versus right-handed pitching. And then you've got a couple of other divisions here where you've got some of the Statis Pro Baseball ratings like OBR and SP, and then here where the stats are shown down here. So the game itself, Digital Diamond Baseball, when you do an export, it must run some external function that then feeds a bunch of variables into this template. And though we cannot go into the code of the game itself and change these variables that are being sent, it's this because the the order of the variables and the variables themselves, that we can't control. But because we have a template, we can change the template. So let's take a look also at the HTML template that goes along with this. And you'll see that this has a whole lot of style information. So we can even change how the cards look. You see all that. So we can edit that. And it's the same with the picture card.txt and the same with the picture's HTML template.html. So I can actually take out the versus, the splits columns, because to me and to my friend, that's just going to be noise. And I tell you what, at my age, noise, it's a factor. I'm so likely to look at one of those columns by mistake and type in the wrong result. So for me, it's just easier and it's more simple if I can remove them. So I wrote my own custom files for battercard.txt, batter HTML template, picturecard.txt, and picture HTML.template. So let me move those into the Statis Pro PDF gen. And I'll show you, let me see. I can show you, for instance, like let's take a look at my battercard.txt. So here it is, and you'll see immediately one of the things I did was I took the first column. What's the first column in the Digital Diamond Baseball format, and I split it into two columns. What I'm doing is I'm kind of shrinking the card, making it a little smaller by putting all that information in two columns. The first column is single through triple. Second column is home run through BD home run. And then you can see what I did with the other two columns, because I can't stop the code from sending these variables, the variables for the splits. But what I can do is hide them. See? So you see I have a class here called hidden splits, and that's what I did. I hide the other two columns, and then I put in, but I need all of the Statis Pro Baseball ratings like OBR and hit and run. I add a little column I don't fill in called injury, which I may talk about in a future video. And then I leave in all the stats. I love, again, that the stats are there. So let us use my custom files, and let me get rid of these. And now that I've put them into that Statis Pro PDF gen directory, and let me generate cards using those. And we'll see how they come out. All right. Let me show you this window, and here they are. Look at that. So now these are much simpler. They're smaller, and you can see that I've gotten rid of the splits. So everything on here is information that we can use. So let's look. Here's Bill Madlock again, right here. And again, he's the combined card that we generated in the previous video. And if we look at the pictures, you'll see that I didn't show you the picture cards, the original picture cards, but they were the same layout with 3 columns that included the splits. And you can see this card, it only has the combined numbers. That's it. So this is how I generated the PDF cards that you're going to see us using sometimes, and that you can see when we did our draft. And I hope that for those of you who want to generate your own cards, you can take a look at the code in the Statis Pro PDF gen, and you can change it yourself if you'd like to. I haven't talked to the Digital Diamond Baseball people to see if they would be interested in these templates that I made. So if I might throw that out there for them if they want to make this accessible to the community. But for now, I think I'm just going to hold on to my templates, but feel free to make your own. And I hope it's something you enjoy. Now you might understand why my cards look different than the standard Digital Diamond Baseball Statis Pro Baseball 4th edition cards.